All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for April 22nd, 2024. We'll start with the 30-minute hybrid swing portfolio. Today was the first turnaround day after about 5 to 8 days of continuous sell-off in the broad market. So we saw evidence of like morning hooks all day today. So this is Alcoa, 30-minute chart. And today it monkeyed around in here, and then when it broke the 5-period anchored VWAP and the Bollinger Band mean was improving and the VWAP was improving and the market was improving, we got long here with a standard risk, exited at the skin of the dragon by the end of the day for 2R. AI was a solid rebound today. This is in the form of a Kata 2, so you got all of these higher lows. This was a bit of a dip. So your Kata 2 is here. The PSAR flip is there. It's crossed the 5-period anchored VWAP, the 3-period, and above the Bollinger Band mean, which is rising. And you have a VWAP intraday that looks just like that. And this thing runs all the way up. And as it's starting to crest, I take that as the peak of the RL10. And as this slides down, I exit here at the skin of the dragon. That's essentially the 10-period simple moving average plus half a standard deviation. So that catches most and gives it a reasonable amount of wiggle room before it goes ahead and exits. And that gives us about, for 1 unit of risk, it gives us 2 units of reward. So that's 2R. Caterpillar was a morning hook after the gap up. So what you had here was a nice gap up, and I treated that as the morning hook that found support at the VWAP north of the rising dragon and standard risk, and it just ran up nicely. Here's the peak, and as this sells off, it sells off right to the 30-day anchored VWAP. So that's a $3.50 gain on a $1 of risk. So that's 3.5R. You can make a living on that. Cliff tried the same entry, but scratched after that initially promising move failed. So we scratched, and then I speculated back in, same standard risk, and got 0.5. Didn't want to hold that overnight. Was not a lot of follow through there. CVS, no trade. Diamonds, a very nice little gap up. Sorry, gapped up to here, sold off. There's your morning hook. When it crossed the VWAP, I'm long with the standard risk, exiting at the skin of the dragon for about 3R. Disney, this was a very large gap up. Here was the close. So large gap up, and then started selling off immediately. So we got short here, came all the way down to nick the PSAR and reverse. So I exited at the skin of the dragon, collected 1R. I thought about this after this consolidation. I thought about this breakout, didn't take it, then watched it do this and watched it do that. So if you take a look at Disney, this thing is definitely going to be in play tomorrow. because you had a move that went from here all the way to here, all the way to here, all the way to here. That is a symbol that's in play. And because it closed so poorly, if it breaks below the daily low, that's an auto short. That was kind of a psychotic move today. Devon, this was a morning hook. It gapped down to here, came all the way back across the 3-period moving, the 3-period anchored VWAP and the Bollinger Band mean, and crossed the VWAP right here. So we got long with the standard risk. It ran all the way up to here, came all the way back. We collected an R. I thought about buying this one on the rebound because it held support at the VWAP. I didn't take it, and then watched it do that. And that's where the trade would ordinarily be made. I ran out of span of control on that one. Emerging markets was a very nice gap up, emerging dragon, and gave us 2R, no overnight risk. Ethereum tried the gap up and go and managed to get out of it with a scratch. Mexico, standard caught a 2 for an R. Brazil, standard caught a 2 for an R. Home Depot, I'm going to hold this one overnight. This is where the, and this is why. If you take a look at this one, this near the 30-day and 10-day and 5-day low, and it put in what I considered a caught a 2 and closed pretty well. And it's such a great American company that I see it holding above both the 3-day and the 5-day VWAP. That's the 3-day and the 5-day VWAP. So that's the average price. And it did not fail any further. It had 5 days to fail and it did not. So I treat that as support. And then to the upside, here's the 5-day high. And that's the RL 270. Oh, I'm sorry, the anchored VWAP for 150. Sorry, my bad. And there's your 30-day anchored VWAP and a 10-day high up in here. So to me, with just that little bit of risk, we're looking at potentially a really nice swing trade, and I want to start it with that move. So that's a longer term orientation on that one. Intel, this thing's just been getting slaughtered, as you can see. And this was an SSC that didn't follow through, escaped with a fraction, but it did not fail further today, so I'm liking that. IP was a short on a collapsing dragon right out the gate and collected a fraction. There was no panic selling in that, so that may be over. This was real estate gap up and go. I stayed too long and lost half an hour. I thought about the revenge trade, did not take it because I was not in the emotional zero state, and then missed the nice rebound move. Coca-Cola, this is another one of the few that I'm holding overnight. This is a caught a 2 recovery, a 1, 2, 3 entry, and it really performed well and showed no signs of weakness. So I have 3R cushion. I'm gonna hold that one overnight. Regional banks, this was the second day of momentum, which is even better than Friday. And now we're all the way back past the 30 and the 150-day anchored VWAP. Feels like it's fully valued. So I wanted to just get paid on those two pieces. That's about 10R total off of the bottom of this. That's a really good series of trades and should be studied. The key on this one was the 3 days here where it did not fail further. Like it had 3 days to fail further and it didn't. So after that move, that's support. And then as it starts breaking out of support, you got 1 day momentum, and then it continued well today, just continues that momentum. So now it's back almost to fair value. So there's no such thing as easy money, but if there was easy money, the easier money was made on those 2 days when you had to have some courage. Now, could there also be a follow through back to the 10-day high? Sure. I'll be ready to re-enter here, but I did not want to give up the gains that we'd made. I wanted to put those in the bank and start from a fresh zero state. McDonald's, this thing, that's sort of the same trade. After the harsh sell-off, it gets back to the 30. Today was the third day of momentum to the upside. Emerging dragon continuation for 2R. 3M, no trade. Merck, emerging dragon for an R. Microsoft, I tried the short continuation on this one because tech had been just murdered all of last week. And then this was a continuation collapsing dragon. It really didn't go anywhere, so I ended up scratching. And then when it PSAR flipped, there's your SSC starting. And I wanted to get paid for 1R and no overnight risk because it's still early days. There's a lot of room for that to continue all the way back up to 420 from 400. That's a it's $20 and 400. That's a 5% move from here to there. So we'll be ready for signs of strength in tech tomorrow with Microsoft leading the way. So this was a turnaround intraday here for MSOS. This is marijuana, one of our favored trading vehicles. Here's your close. Here's the open. It sold off hard, then continued to sell off, made a new low of the day right here. So I get short with the standard risk. There's your R10 peak. It reverses. I decide to take it at the VWAP for 1R and make that a stop and reverse SSC, which collects half an R, and then exit before the close. So that's total of about 1.5, which I felt went really, really well. Nike, no trade. NVIDIA, this is another one that I'm holding overnight. This is, the great AI company, one of the best performing Magnificent Seven. And here it is from up here at 900 and sold off all the way. That was the collapse for all the weekends. It comes down to 760. So it's almost 150 off of 900, which is 1/6, which is a 15% sale in 7 days. So there's your SSC with a tight risk, and it just followed through nicely. So we're holding 1, 2, 3R, and there's a real good chance that it gets through the 3-day VWAP to the 5-day and then up into this support level or price target around 850, which is where I'd like to see it go. So that's what I'm speculating on, and I'll be looking to add to that position on strength tomorrow if it manifests. Clean energy. The slide continued today. I missed the morning trade, but in the after lunch, kind of 1, 2, 3 entry for a couple R. Palantir, 1R on a SSC. Rivian, 1R on an SSC. SOUN, I missed the move to the upside. It was an SSC. This was the S&P, and after that long, harsh sell-off, the last time it was strong was up in here where you had the 30 period anchored VWAP and the 10 period all up in here around 518, and it sold off all the way to 494. Here's your PSAR flip in the morning after the maximum adverse excursion at the close on Friday. And then this gives you an SSC, and there's day 1 of momentum. Came back here. Now, that would be a continuation move. Anything north of 502 is going to be a confirmation that this was the beginning of the turn. So you got to see that tomorrow, but you got to be ready for it. And if it happens, you see the 5-day high at 507 and the 10 period Anchored VWAP is right there, and there's the 30, and there's the 10-day high. So you got very clear indications of health to the upside. But of course, anything below 495, instant short for all the reasons we talked about this weekend. Tesla missed the short. Walmart beauty. I am holding this one overnight. This is where the SSE started on Friday. This was the second day of momentum. I missed the second entry. It came all the way back to here, but I'm holding about 3R on that one. And I really like, that's a decisive turnaround. And I would not be surprised to see it break above the previous 10-day high here as early as tomorrow. That would be cool. I missed the trade in US Steel. In XLI Industrials, there's that morning hook for 2R and no overnight risk. Some sniper trades of the day. So these are all on 3-minute charts. This is McDonald's. I tried the gap fade. It gapped up to here and then started selling off hard, so I got short. It ran all the way down here and reversed, so I scratched. I was sloppy on that one. That's a stop and reverse for 1R. Caught a 2 re-entry for a half an hour loss. Emerging dragon re-entry because it stayed north of the VWAP here. So notice you've got the rising Bollinger Band mean. That's good. You've got a PSAR flip right here. You got the VWAP never really flinched. And now here's a breakout above that previous double top. So that's an emerging dragon. And that is your standard risk box. Check or hold. That gives you a third of an R. Emerging dragon, second re-entry. That one pays off for 2R. So the grind was pretty good at McDonald's. It held price at all the key intersections, if you will, and is looking strong continuation for tomorrow. Oops, that was McDonald's. Yeah, okay. This one is Intel. So what I want to show on this one, I've thickened the VWAP so you can see it. And now what I just want to mark off here is some key indicators to look for, right? So the turning point, and this is your RL30 right here. When that rolls over, that moment is the end of this run. And this is the beginning of an owl entry to the downside. And it cuts through the VWAP. That's significant. Here's a collapsing dragon where it breaks below that. That's significant. It's below the Bollinger Band main, below the VWAP, which is rolling over. It's got the owl entry to the downside already. And that collapsing dragon breaks down instantly like that. Now, what I want you to notice is the distance from the anchored from the VWAP to the maximum excursion. That blue box of power that way is the same size as this blue box coming this way. So that's how much power the traders have to move it one way or the other against the VWAP. So when you see this reversal coming up here, now you have the RL30 rolling over. That's an owl entry in the other direction. It crosses the Bollinger Band main. You can enter right there. You could enter right here when it crosses the VWAP because you have every reason to believe that this size of a move could be here. It could get all the way back to where it was before. It doesn't. Oh, yes, it does. Now, what I want you to notice here is turning point in the RL10, which is a V bottom because of math, V bottom, V bottom, crosses the dragon here, crosses the VWAP here. You could get long there with a wrist box like that. There's a cotta 2, so you could put a second entry there. And now you notice this is how far up it's gone. And this is where the RL30 is rolling over. So if you had gotten long at either one of those two, or even this SSC, or that cotta 2, then this is a natural place to take the exit because the RL30 is telling you that this is a natural breakpoint, and your maximum favorable excursion is the same size of a move away from the VWAP as before. That's how much power the traders have. So you could be taking your exit up in that region. And now, do we get a VWAP magnet? We sure do. So before everything settles up, price comes comfortably back to the VWAP. So every crossing of the VWAP is a significant one. Here's one to the upside. Here's one to the downside. Here's one to the upside. Here's the reversion back to the VWAP by the end of the day. Don't be surprised when that happens. That's the expectation. All right, here's Brazil. What I did on this one was just mark off the first 30 minutes. So this is like a quick frog, like an OR30. I ended up getting like a PSAR flip entry, so I didn't have to wait for a new high. So I just took it here. Standard risk, standard exit after the RL10 rolls over. Take the exit at the skin of the dragon in the usual way. There's my risk box. There's one. That's about 1.5. Check or hold. After lunch, emerging dragon breakout for another R. Standard work. Situational. Last one here. Mexico. Tried the short for a scratch. There's your PSAR flip. That's about an R. Cotta 2 reentry for half an R. Cotta 2 reentry for a scratch. And that's about 3R on the day. And then I missed the afternoon run up because it was so late in the day. Quick look at the traders. Hamad is little baby's doing great, which is wonderful news. And a couple quick scratches. There was an opportunity on the rollover and the crossing of the VWAP here. He does take this one, cuts it quickly. This could have been a reversal here. He waits for the test of the VWAP, scratches one, re-enters, scratches a second one, was unlucky, waits for the breakout of the emerging dragon. It just wasn't there all day. It was kind of just grinding. The moves just did not follow through. He did a good job on that. Tesla, he gets 1.6, getting the more, here's the big gap down, so you know what's in play. Morning hook, long. I think your exit might have been here, but this is still pretty good. As long as you're exiting north of the VWAP, that's good. And then your short could have been maybe a fraction earlier, but that's still pretty good. Great exit. Yeah, that's the same entry long as this one. And it would have paid, but you're coming close to the lunch, so that's not bad. And why not just bank 1.6? Nothing wrong with that. Got caught in a grind in Cleveland Cliffs. This was trying to make a non-mover work. But to be fair, If you get that morning hook, there's a 1, 2, 3. There's an emerging dragon, and that would have been paid. And then this is the second position, and then you'd probably scratch that here. And then that would have paid and made the difference in the day. Yeah. This could have been a stop and reverse because you have a kata 2 and you have the market reversing after a harsh winter. And then, so you could think about that entry, and now you got a nice grind all day. Nice job on Microsoft. There were a couple opportunities to get short. He takes the opportunity in the afternoon when the market's really doing well and plays the tech leader for 1.3. Perfect targeting, situational trading. This is Brian, and he's working on the Euro Aussie and brings home 1.8 on a collapsing dragon, perfectly placed and a very orderly exit. There was a re-entry available a little bit later for essentially the same trade, but still good work. He noticed a potential second position, but he does get 3.8 out of this one and then doesn't take so that's 3.8 without a second position and without a re-entry. So there was probably 8R available total. That's the British pound and Aussie dollar. So doing good work there in the currencies. George got tricked a little bit here on AI, and we're going to learn about re-entering and stopping and reversing. New high of the day. Ooh. 0.7 on Devon Energy. The re-entry was a 1, 2, 3. There was enough time of the day coming out of lunch. So let's be mindful of those. The stop and reverse would have more than covered this short on PBW. You know it's an active trader. And failure to fail further after all of this sell-off, you're entitled to believe that that could keep going. Nice work on Alcoa for half an hour. And this is Kevin's. Now he's noticing after a long, harsh sell-off, it stabilizes here, critical state. He gets long and it closed very well. So now he's looking at a follow through of 4-1 to the previous resistance, and then an 8-1 to get to the previous peak. So he's got reasonable price targets, has a nice buffer, and he's identified where the swing stops might be. He's going to take a collapsing dragon short if needed. You could actually, if this starts to fail, make bank on that and then watch this as a yellow zone. And if it breaks below that short, if it recovers and goes, kata 2 and stay with it on the long side. So perfectly played, and he's got 1.5R in hand. So nice work on it. Let's see. Have the report open. Please stand by. Right, so we had a bit of stability today. Um, the bleeding stopped near the 30-day low, and we had just a little bit of recovery. I mean, it got all the way up to here, then pulled back to the black line. So we've got a little bit of cushion against the breakdown. If it goes below 495, you're short. But if it breaks above 502, we can be long. So that's our indecision zone. Today was the first day of not failing further, so we like that. It's a little easier to see on the next chart. So that's about an 8% sell-off, not quite a full 10% correction. So, but a significant sell-off for buying on dips. And that's probably what we saw a little bit of today. And what does that look like on a daily chart? Here's your big harsh sell-off for 9 days. And now here's where it rolls over and then closes here at 499, almost 500. Higher low of the day. And the slope of the RL10 is starting to turn. We get any more power tomorrow, and that will be the V bottom. And now we're looking at a return to the Bollinger Band mean at 514. So that's good. And today's little recovery gives us, we're off the red bottom, still volatile, still risk off. That's a cautionary tale. But the buy on dips that were in play from the weekend report, all of these were on buy on dips, and it paid off a little bit today. So it's a high probability trade. We'll see if there's any legs. In the Dow Tactical, we only got the one 5DD in Tesla, which hit a new 6-month low, getting slaughtered. Still a plenty of auto framers to choose from. And that's also true in the ETFs. No 5DDs, but plenty of auto framers. And consumer staples was the only new breakout to the upside. So this was a bit of quiet healing. Not healthy by any means, but the bleeding stopped. There's your auto framer for mechanical trading. A handful of squeezes, including 3M and Intel. Still being dominated by the winter. And pretty much broad-based buying today with just a few notable exceptions. Tesla and Nike, silver and gold giving back some of their gains. But otherwise, generally speaking, a broad set of buying across all the indexes. Marijuana, Tesla, Nvidia, clean energy, Intel for our top 5 trading quality targets. And looking at the z-scores of the regression lines. So the RL10's little uptick today, it's past Z-2 and almost at Z3. So that could be the beginning of a little bit of a tactical recovery. And you see that right here. It's not out of the question to get back to 515, which is right about here. And then it has to get above 525 to be free and clear. But anything below 495 is an auto short because it's going to come back to 470 then if it does that. Okay. So pretty good shape for tomorrow for Tactical Tuesday. And we'll get this published and processed in the usual way. Take good care, and we'll catch you tomorrow.